What's up, Coffee Blerds? Welcome to a special edition of Not Caffeinated Enough. Working title. No, it's not working title. I mean, that's my handle. I am not caffeinated enough. You'll have to deal with this terrible glare in my glasses. Sorry. This is a special episode because I have a guest for the first time. Erica will be joining me in just a moment. We connected on Instagram. If you are Black, if you are into coffee, and you post a lot of coffee stuff, you're getting followed on Instagram. I will follow you. Follow you on Instagram. Start talking about coffee. I was like, hey, I want to do this show for my YouTube channel. So we'd never met before, but here we are doing a coffee experiment. We did 1 cup of coffee with a single filter in the Aeropress and another cup of coffee using 2 filters. Doesn't make a difference. 1 filter versus 2. Here's us making cups of coffee to find out. Oh, the camera's here. Damn. I didn't realize that using this camera would pick up as much of my torso, so I changed shirts.
Pick up what?
Would pick up this much of me.
Cool. So while the water is warming up, do you want to do the coffee thing or talk about the coffee and the recipes that we're using?
Yeah, perfect. What are you using?
I'm using this. It's a recent release from Seeds Coffee Company.
Okay.
It is honey processed coffee from Laos. Shout out to Oksana. Yeah, it has tasting notes of red apple, dark caramel, and hickory. And I want to use this coffee because I had it recently, so I should have a pretty good baseline for it.
Nice. Okay. I'm going to be using Coffee Black Scuji Main. This is the remix version outside of the usual, coming from Wachu. I've actually never heard that said before. I'm going to say Wachu. Natural process. It has notes of sweet potato pie spices, which is what hooked me in. That's the whole reason I bought it. Brown sugar, and Arizona peach tea. The recipe, I'm going to be using 15 grams in. I did a 30-second bloom with I did 50 grams of water. And then actually went up to 260 grams of total water after the bloom. And my total brew time ended up being about 1:45.
My recipe, 18 grams of coffee in, 225 grams of coffee out, with a brew temp of 203 degrees. I stirred for 30 seconds during the bloom, and then poured the rest of the water in, and then I let that sit until 1:45, flipped, and then pressed, and tried to hit 2 minutes at the end. So 2-minute total brew time.
Nice. All right, cool.
I'm sipping that Gucci, I'm dripping that Gucci. They want me to stop, but I cannot go through with it. I got the crew and ain't no backing off. I'm about to brew it, I'm back with the sauce. Yeah, all black, everything, including my babies. They said cut it out, but my dread hand like Jamaican. Yeah, how you take it black. Yeah, we taking it back. Yeah, take it back. How you take it black. Yeah, we taking it back. Yeah, how you take it?
I'm just gonna drink some, even though it's so hot. But man, for some reason I was craving coffee. That usually doesn't happen. Not past the morning, not in the afternoon.
And I'm feeling good, might get competitive. Ain't no haters, all of it, my people said. Down if you with the crew, come around, yeah. If you with the crew, sipping brown.
Yeah, so my thoughts on this brew is that it is really sweet. The most prominent thing probably is that caramel note. It's like really like caramely, chocolatey.
Okay. On the single filter, first brew, my notes are, I can taste not full on pumpkin pie, but maybe a little nutmeg. I taste the brown sugar. It's got like kind of a medium body to it. I don't taste like and not much acidity. Definitely, it's low on acidity, which is what I'm used to from this. And I don't really taste the peach tea yet. But I usually taste that a lot more as it cools down. Are you very familiar with the coffee you're using?
So my first time trying it was last week.
Oh, okay.
I had it on MX. It was super tasty. The sweetness really kicked in as it cooled. And it's doing the same thing with the Aeropress brew. Like it's just getting sweeter as it cools.
Okay.
It's like guava and like cranberry. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cranberry. That sounds interesting. So while they're cooling, one of the things that I've been really curious to hear about from other folks of color in coffee, other Coffee Blerds, is about like how you've handled being like one of the only, if not the only, other Black baristas that you've like worked with, or one of the only Black people that you like see around you in the industry, if that's true for you. That's been my experience, and I'm completely projecting my experience onto you. So if you have experienced something different, share that.
Sure. Yeah, I feel like unless you're in a city like DC or Atlanta, it's a pretty good guess to make about the prevalence of Black people in the industry. And I would say that's my experience in coffee and outside of coffee, being the kind of stereotypical token Black person. As far as in coffee, how I handled that was because I had so many experiences outside of coffee with white people, it really wasn't anything new to me. And I'm a pretty boundaried person. So unless someone was being rude or ignorant, I tried to, keep my cool, be neutral, do my job and have fun, But yeah, during times where someone would say something ignorant or microaggressions happen, I'm a very direct person. And so I handle those things like head on. I just have a conversation with the person and then try to go from there. Sometimes people are reasonable and sometimes people aren't. But, yeah, I think it's just been these different times of having to take a stance as a Black person, and that it is hard, I think there's this question of like, if you're going to lose your job or not, or how are people going to perceive you after there is a confrontation. But yeah, I've spent a lot of time trying to educate white people on Blackness, and at this point in my career, I'm pretty much done with doing that.
Yeah, makes sense. I kind of never tried to be the educator, which maybe is kind of a shame, because maybe, I don't know, maybe you should until you're tired of it. I don't know, but I just Yeah, I never ever felt like it.
I got a whole Google out there. Plus,
True. Yeah, there's a lot of resources.
yeah,
Yeah. I never, it's weird because I understand the feeling or what you were saying that you're like before coffee, you were used to like being around, working around environments of white people.
mhm,
um, and same here. And I never, like I was used to it. So there was some degree of being comfortable because, you know, it was familiar. And I didn't really notice at first. Well, it took me a while to notice like what it was that felt like there was something missing. Um, and it seemed like the feeling seemed to get stronger, or not stronger, but I recognized it more when I did get into coffee. And I think maybe like it's because I started to feel more comfortable in coffee, but again, not completely, because there wasn't anyone that looked like me, is what I finally realized. Um, and so, yeah, I just, it was weird because I could tell there was some like community in coffee,
mhm.
uh, but I didn't feel the community.
Right.
Yeah, I still felt the need to code switch or shift, you know, who I was. I still, yeah, I felt like I had to kind of talk a certain way to the people above me, maybe the people I was like trying to impress and get to promote me. I had to be, you know, a certain way, professional. I had to dress a certain way to start to be taken seriously. And to anyone that I was managing or just my fellow baristas, for them to show any respect to me, I had to be, I found, like completely bubbly and friendly all the time. Otherwise, it seemed like they would start to shun me or resent me or think that, I don't know, I just couldn't be focused on work, which is how I tend to be when I'm at work.
Mm-hmm.
I had to be very social with them as well. And so, yeah, I don't know if that's specifically because of my race, that part, or because I tend to work with younger people and that's I don't know, that's the expectation there. Um, but yeah, it wasn't until finding an online community of other minorities in coffee that I was like, oh shit, this is what I was looking for. This feels really nice. Like this feels right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm so glad that I've been able to find like people like you. I wouldn't have thought I'd say this, but like, thank you, Instagram, I guess, for connecting me, allowing me to find other cool coffee words. Yeah.
Yeah, I really gave me so much that feeling of there's supposed to be community here, but not totally feeling that and having to go outside of the coffee community to find other people.
Mm.
That makes a lot of sense. And I would also give a big thanks to Instagram because I have connected to other Black coffee professionals, other women in coffee, and that's been for sure a saver. So
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, cool. Oh, I've also wondered, so if you, like me, have received, or I guess I'll phrase it differently, have you received a lot of like white mansplaining advice or tips or anything at like at this level when your coffee knowledge was at this level? And if so, if so, have you figured out like the way that works best for you to like deal with that?
mm-hmm. Yeah. So ironically, uh, I made a post on Instagram about finally owning an Aeropress for myself. And I guess some people interpreted that as me not having ever brewed on an Aeropress before. The some people being, you know, the stereotypical white coffee bro. And so in my DMs is, you know, someone trying to be nice, but they felt led to share their Aeropress recipe. And I was like, in my head, I didn't say this to the person, but I was like, I actually really don't need your Aeropress recipe. Like, I have my own, plus I know where I can find, recipes that I like.
Uh-huh.
But I actually have brewed on the Aeropress so many times. So yeah, I don't know. I guess in that case, I just chose to like be nice and then chunk deuces and like keep doing me.
Uh-huh.
That's one way to do it, is to just like listen, be like cool, and then just keep doing you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, I mean, I guess that's my primary way of dealing with it. And I guess another example of that would be in cupping rooms. And we could talk about that all day. Experiences, and particularly like women in cupping rooms and how they're treated. But yeah, if someone's like experience is different, they want to communicate that to you, let you know what they're tasting. And again, that's a situation where I choose to say like, cool, I'm glad you taste that. I don't taste that. This is what I taste.
Nice. Okay. Okay. See, I've heard similar things. I've asked at least like a couple other people that question. Basically, how do you cope? And like the answer seems to be like, just do you, don't let it bother you.
Yes.
That sounds healthy. I'm kind of still getting there. Because yeah, I ask that like genuinely wanting to know like how do you deal with it? Because I haven't gotten to that place of just acceptance yet and just don't worry about them. But
Mm-hmm.
that does sound like the best answer. So I'm gonna have to work on that.
Yeah, I read an article in Barista Magazine the other day. The story was written about a woman that is a green coffee buyer. And one of the things she said is that it seems now that we're at a point in the industry where there are a lot of self-proclaimed specialists, professionals, experts out there. And it's really wise to interrogate what information they're presenting, to test it, and to not just accept it, and to not discredit your own self just because they said this one thing has to be this one way. But yeah, like everyone's a professional nowadays. So I'm just let them speak their truth and keep it moving.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. There was like one time someone tried to, well, actually this is a bad example because it's cleaner. And so like someone was calling out a drink to me, an Americano. This was at work at one of the former coffee shops I worked at. And I was making a drink and I was like, what was that? I didn't hear what he said. And he started trying to explain what an Americano was to me. It's like he could have pretty easily either clarified what I said or assumed that I didn't hear what he said versus assuming that I didn't know what an Americano was. I don't know, because I've been working in coffee enough by then, like more than a year, you tend to pick up on what the basic coffee drinks are. So yeah, that was interesting because that was like one of the moments where I learned about myself that I can't just let it go. I didn't do anything aggressive. I said, I know what Americano is, I just didn't hear you. But I feel like a former self of me, a version of me, would have just said, okay. Because as he was explaining what an Americano was, I would have picked up, oh, okay, he said Americano, cool. Okay, like I could have done that, I guess. But that didn't seem like an option to me. And then I just like I felt the need from then on, even though I kind of always feel this need, but like to prove myself and like I gotta look really like I am comfortable behind this machine, but I have to really look comfortable and like almost put on a show, like, you know, exaggerate my moves or whatever to be like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And that just doesn't seem like the best response to have because chances are he didn't notice and I'm just getting myself worked up.
Sure. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I am competitive and I'm prideful. And there are times where I have to flex back on people.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely room for flexing back on people. And I promote that too. I endorse the flexes, especially from women. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that endorsement. I haven't gotten one yet, so I'll take yours. Thank you so much. um, okay, yeah, cool. I'm glad we could talk about that. It's just it feels like it's every time it happens again, it weighs on my mind. I think, you know what, I just need to talk to my community to feel better, center myself. Cool. How are your coffees feeling? Are they cool enough?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, sweet.
So, overall, I prefer the single filter over the double filter. The single filter's mouthfeel is more enjoyable to me. I would say it's a solid medium mouthfeel, where the double filter has a medium light body. And then the single filter is also more sweet, it's more complex, um, as compared to the double filter, which the flavor is still good, but it's lacking in sweetness, and the flavors are more on the earthy, lemon kind of side. So yeah, I'd say when it comes to this coffee, I prefer the single filter.
Okay, interesting. Um, I prefer the double filter,
Okay.
but
Well,
there were similar things though. For I think for some of the reasons you prefer the single filter, so I prefer the double. So
okay.
I noticed that the single filter in mine was a little sweeter too, or is a little sweeter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind sweetness. I have a major sweet tooth, but usually in my coffee, I don't like it too sweet. And it's not too sweet, but usually less sweet is better for me.
Okay.
Mm. And yeah, the double filter, I get a more earthy taste too, which is super interesting. Um, Maybe it's interesting to me because I don't know what creates a more earthy taste. I haven't figured that one out yet. Um, and then there's a little bit more acidity, I feel like, in my double filter one. Yeah, which it isn't something I necessarily aim for, but I do like it more in this coffee, that little bit of acidity. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't taste it in my single filter.
Yeah. As far as the acidity, I would agree. There's more acidity in the double filter, which I would describe as almost sharp, which I don't enjoy. Whereas the acidity in the single cup is more mellow as you're sipping, but hits you more in the back end, in the aftertaste. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that's cool.
Yeah. I for some I figured, I guess when I thought about it, I was like, well, I'm sure there's a difference. One filter versus two, that seems like enough of a difference to tell. But for some reason in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I'm not going to be able to tell the difference. I don't know why. I'm really glad that like we both uh, proved that wrong.
Yeah, there's a big difference.
Cool. The more you know. Well, the more I know. You might have already known that this was going to turn out this way. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I never use a double filter. I've heard about people using it, and I've just been like, nah. Like,
Have you heard of like the reason they use it?
the reason that I've heard is because you end up with less grounds in the cup if you use a double filter. But the grounds in the cup don't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
I like them. I enjoy them. So, and to me, they're like, it's minimal. It doesn't distract any at all from the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So since that was the reason, I'm like, it tastes good. So I'm just not going to change it, you know?
Yeah. The only reason I have ever heard someone like say that they use a double filter is so they don't have to do the inverted method. It just slows down the flow while they keep it in position. Which, I mean, I guess that doesn't seem like a big enough reason to me.
Man, they hate inverted. What's really interesting about that argument too is that one of the reasons the inverted method was developed is to give you more control. And so it's like, yeah, I'm just going to insert paper and slow it down. It's like, you just flip it over, and then it'll drain.
Yeah, it's like a shortcut around something where there doesn't need to be a shortcut. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you so much for doing this with me. Yeah, hopefully as I get better at this like video thing, we can do another one at some other point.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
At the end of the day, we're trying to make coffee black again.